What if I told you that the most legendary library of human history, the Library of Alexandria, was not merely a storehouse of dusty scrolls, but a vault of transformative secrets? Picture this: moonlit marble columns reflecting the silent ripple of the Mediterranean Sea, while within those hallowed halls, sages from every dawn of civilization exchanged truths so potent, so far-reaching, that their very existence threatened the empires of men. And then, in a burst of shadow and flame, it was gone. Reduced to ash, lost, or perhaps merely hidden. Was the destruction of Alexandria's library a tragic accident of war, as we are taught, or, as whispered in rare circles, was this act the deliberate erasure of knowledge too powerful to be left in human hands? Tonight, we journey beyond the smoke and ruins. We pierce through official histories, unearthing the buried intentions behind this ancient cataclysm. Did the true destroyers of Alexandria seek to suppress esoteric wisdom, spiritual technologies capable of awakening humanity's hidden potential? Or was it simply an unfortunate casualty of chaos, obscured by the mists of time? Together, we will step through the veiled corridors of history, traverse the crossroads of power, mysticism, and secrecy, and ask, what was it about this library that demanded its obliteration not once, but again and again across centuries? We'll trace the cryptic links between the lost scrolls of Alexandria and the occult practices of vanished civilizations. We'll explore the murky motives of conquerors, zealots, and unseen forces lurking behind the scenes, a tapestry woven with intrigue, ambition, and fear of enlightenment. Most tantalizing of all, I will reveal how hints of Alexandria's forbidden knowledge may yet remain, scattered in plain sight, offering us the same tools to ignite transformation in our own lives, if only we learn to recognize and reclaim them. So, if you've ever suspected that the official story is as fragile as papyrus, join me as we illuminate the shadows, decode the riddles, and seek the answers that were meant to be lost forever. Are you ready to peer behind the veil? The journey begins now. The Library of Alexandria was not born in isolation. It was the shimmering jewel of an ancient cosmopolis, a beacon on Egypt's Mediterranean shore, drawing seekers from Babylon, Athens, Persia, Judea, and far beyond. Imagine the city streets thrumming with the footsteps of philosophers and magicians, royal dynasts rubbing shoulders with humble scribes. In this luminous crucible, knowledge was not mere information, it was the lifeblood that nourished nations and ignited revolutions of thought. Built in the 3rd century BCE under the reign of Ptolemy I, the library was more than just a repository of scrolls. It was the heart of the Mausoleum, a sanctuary for the Muses, those legendary goddesses of inspiration. Here, wisdom flowed from east and west, preserved and debated by minds fevered with curiosity. Euclid, with his geometric theorems, Eratosthenes, charting the shape of the earth, Hypatia, the last great philosopher priestess, interpreting numinous mysteries for her loyal students. Some accounts whisper that the library's volumes numbered in the hundreds of thousands: astronomy, mathematics, philosophy, mysticism, healing, and, perhaps, the forbidden arts that skirted the perimeter between science and sorcery. To understand why Alexandria was targeted, we must probe deeper than political intrigue or papyrus scrolls. In the ancient mind, knowledge was not simply a tool for utility, but a vehicle toward gnosis, the direct, personal experience of the divine. Esoteric traditions across Egypt, Greece, Persia, and India all converged at Alexandria's crossroads. Within its walls, Egyptian priests recited secret hymns to Thoth, Greek magicians studied Hermetic texts, and Jewish mystics whispered the ineffable names of God. These traditions believed that ultimate reality was veiled, and those who penetrated its mysteries could attain powers over themselves, over matter, perhaps even over fate itself. Herein lies the philosophical crux. Throughout history, the guardians of orthodoxy, be they kings, emperors, or religious dogmatists, have always feared knowledge that bypasses their authority. For such power, unmoored from sanction and hierarchy, is a threat to every throne and altar. Esoteric traditions, by their very nature, challenge fixed dogma and awaken individuals to inner autonomy. True wisdom, said the Hermeticists, cannot be given, only discovered. Thus, to those invested in control, an educated, awakened populace was the ultimate danger. So, when we ponder the fate of the library, we're not only asking, Who set the fires, but also, who stood to profit from a world plunged back into intellectual darkness? Did conquerors and zealots fear not only the spread of unsettling ideas, but the awakening of latent human capacity encoded in those lost texts? Might the library's destruction be part of an archetypal drama, one that repeats whenever hidden truth pierces the veil of worldly power? Over centuries, stories of Alexandria's downfall have multiplied each wave of conquerors, from Julius Caesar's legions to Christian zealots to invading caliphs, accused of kindling its pyres. Some historians claim multiple devastations, as if the universe itself conspired to obliterate a singular treasure. Yet even as flames consumed its papyrus, the library's true significance seeped beneath the surface, hidden in the ruins, awaiting rediscovery by those bold enough to seek. In our own time, the word library conjures images of silence and simple learning, a betrayal of the ancient reality. For Alexandria was a crucible of alchemy, where the fires of the intellect and the spirit intermixed. Its destruction was more than an historical event, it marked, symbolically and literally, the severing of humanity from its own deepest wisdom. But perhaps, just perhaps, its secrets were not all lost. Maybe the invisible threads of Alexandria still connect the seekers of today to the mysteries once fiercely protected, reminding us that the erasure of knowledge is never total. And so, the question lingers: who truly benefits from the loss of wisdom, and what, if anything, can be reclaimed? Let us now step into the shadows, where smoke still lingers in the halls of memory, and ask, why would anyone wish to erase the knowledge sheltered at Alexandria? Was it truly a victim of happenstance and careless warfare, or is there something more elusive, an agenda concealed beneath the official tales? The common narrative is cloaked in ambiguity. Alexandria's library, we are told, was reduced to ashes through a series of calamities: Caesar's accidental fire during the siege of 48 BCE, the religious fervor of Christian mobs in the 4th century, and finally, the sweeping tide of conquest under the early caliphate. These are the footnotes of history, repeated so often you could almost mistake them for truth. But behind these polite citations bristles a forbidden question. Could mere chance orchestrate the repeated devastation of a single institution, one that housed the codified dreams and secrets of a dozen civilizations? To probe deeper, consider the mythic function of libraries in the ancient world. They were regarded not only as treasuries of fact, but as liminal spaces, thresholds between the known and the ineffable. Within Alexandria, it is said, resided more than treatises of geometry or lore of distant lands. There are whispers of forbidden scrolls, treatises on theurgy, the art of calling down the gods, manuals of astral travel and spirit conjuring, obscure alchemical recipes and encoded initiations, passed from hand to trembling hand under the hush of secrecy. Even the structure of the Mauseon reflected a mystical intent. It was designed not just for study, but for initiation. Scholars gathered in sacred gardens to ponder the cosmic harmony of the spheres. Priests and priestesses presided over rites of passage and consecration. Science and spirit danced together, unshackled by the boundaries of materialist dogma. This was a knowledge that threatened every order: imperial, ecclesiastical, and philosophical. Why would such knowledge be dangerous? Imagine a populace, not merely literate, but attuned to the hidden laws of nature and psyche, a citizenry acquainted with techniques to sharpen intuition, heal the body, commune with archetypes, and even, some said, sway the urge and ebb of destiny itself. Such souls would be impossible to herd, impossible to rule through fear alone. Herein lies the first great paradox. The custodians of dogma, be they Roman commanders, Christian patriarchs, or new caliphal authorities, each arrived beneath banners of truth, progress, or salvation. And yet, each in their turn was confronted by a treasury of secrets that did not bow to their ideology. What could not be converted or controlled, they sought to burn. Consider the words attributed to the Caliph Umar, whether legend or not. If the books agree with the Quran, we do not need them. If they disagree, destroy them. Such pronouncements, though debated by scholars, crystallize the perennial impulse: erase that which cannot be assimilated. The same shadow lingers behind accounts of Christian zealots toppling Serapis' statue and razing the Serapeum, an adjunct to the Grand Library. Yet, the deliberate intent is not always so overt. Sometimes suppression wears the mask of neglect. Scrolls, deemed heretical, are left to rot. Esoteric symbols are reinterpreted, stripped of their power or quietly folded into the foundations of new orthodoxies, their meaning rendered invisible but not absent. The loss becomes both an act of violence and of silent suffocation. As embers ascended over Alexandria, the architects of its destruction may have believed they were silencing rebellion, erasing heterodoxy, purifying the city's soul. But was something deeper at stake? Did they sense, perhaps dimly, that to allow the flowering of a holistic, integrative wisdom, one that married reason and revelation, would unmask the frailty of their own claims to authority? To peer further into the labyrinth of Alexandria's loss is to step into a realm where myth, memory, and manipulation merge. Let us ask not only what was destroyed, but what might have survived, woven through centuries in symbols, fragments, and whispers, and why such wisdom was so persistently targeted. Start with the treasures themselves. It is said that Alexandria held not only the philosophical works of Plato and Aristotle, but treatises utterly unknown to the Western canon, chronicles of Lemuria and Atlantis, channeled through ancient Egyptian priests, instructions for the Egyptian art of Ka, or soul invocation, Hermetic scriptures pointing towards spiritual transmutation, even blueprints for devices the ancients used to map the heavens and perhaps, some allege, even harness subtle energies. These are not idle fantasies. Plutarch, Strabo, and even early Christian theologians all hint at the existence of secret books and inner circles. The Gnostics, who thrived in Alexandria, claimed that salvation came not through blind faith, but through gnosis, a word meaning direct, experiential knowledge of the divine. Their cosmologies, later condemned as heresy, posited that divine sparks slumber within every heart, awaiting only the fire of remembrance. The Hermetica, texts attributed to the mysterious Hermes Trismegistus, contain striking passages. That which is below is like to that which is above, the ancient axiom declares, and that which is above is like to that which is below, for the performance of the miracles of the one thing. This notion of correspondence of microcosm reflecting macrocosm offered seekers practical keys to manipulate reality by working on their own consciousness. What would a ruling priesthood, an emperor, or an Orthodox church fear more than the possibility of every individual discovering their own inner divinity? Now consider the paradox. Despite the flames, traces of this wisdom survived. Not in libraries or institutions, but coded into alchemical treatises in medieval Europe, hidden in the mystical poetry of Sufis, preserved as riddles within tarot and Kabbalah. When the outer structures of Alexandria fell, the seeds of its knowledge scattered, carried along secret currents the initiatic orders, the underground societies, the very folklore that persists at the fringes of culture. Modern historians may scoff, but there are tantalizing mysteries. How did the concept of zero and the decimal system slip through Arabic scholars into Europe, centuries after Alexandria's fall? Why do so many esoteric traditions, Hermetic, Gnostic, Sufi, even certain streams of early Christianity, share common symbols, archetypes, and practices pointing back to this ancient crossroads? Herein lies the advanced paradox. By destroying the center, the authorities inadvertently decentralized the wisdom. What was once guarded in a single sanctuary became a diaspora, an invisible tradition, resilient precisely because it could no longer be stamped out in one fell swoop. But there's a deeper, almost mythic, layer to this story. In some spiritual traditions, the burning of the Great Library is viewed as a collective rite of passage, a symbolic death and rebirth for humanity. In this telling, knowledge isn't lost, but occulted, hidden, to be reawakened only when hearts and minds are ready for its power. The library's destruction thus challenges us. Are we ready, now, to reclaim that which was hidden? Do we dare to sift through ashes, seeking embers that still smolder with promise? Perhaps this is why the legend of Alexandria grips us still. It is a mirror for our own age, an age of information and disinformation, awakening and censorship. The questions it raises are perennial. Who curates knowledge, and why? What truths are we denied, and which ones do we deny ourselves? Can we recognize wisdom disguised in symbols so ancient, so subtle, they elude even our own notice? As you listen, ask yourself, what might you reclaim from your own inner library, long thought, burnt, or buried? In the ashes of yesterday's wisdom, are there seeds lying dormant, awaiting your attention, your courage, your curiosity? In a moment, we'll turn from legend to practice, exploring how the secrets of Alexandria, fragmented though they are, can fuel your transformation today. So, what value remains in these tales of flame and lost papyrus? Is Alexandria's legacy faded only to tantalize from the shadows, forever just out of reach? Or can we, even now, reclaim fragments that will spark our own awakening? The answer is both poetic and practical. The wisdom of Alexandria was never meant to be locked in scrolls or guarded behind marble walls. Its most potent teachings have always been about transformation of perception, of consciousness, of daily existence. And whether you know it or not, the very blueprint the ancients guarded is hidden in plain sight, ready to be activated. Let us begin with the art of inner alchemy. At its core, alchemy is not just about turning base metals into gold, it's about refining the self. The Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, invites us to recognize that our thoughts, feelings, and daily actions are microcosms of greater cosmic patterns. Each morning, begin by setting a simple intention. What I create in my mind, I shape in my world. As the ancients did, you can cultivate rituals of reflection, spend a few minutes at sunrise in silence, observing breath and sensation, sensing the interplay of mind and body. This small practice, deceptively gentle, mirrors what initiates once did in the library's sacred gardens, the cultivation of inner stillness that allows the one thing to arise. Next, experiment with the wisdom of symbolism. The seekers of Alexandria were versed in reading the world as a living text where every event, dream, and challenge contains a message from the divine. Begin a dream journal, noting symbols and recurring motifs. When a symbol repeatedly emerges, a serpent, a flame, a lost city, ask yourself, what is this teaching me about my own nature or situation? In this way, you become not only a student of history, but an active participant in the ongoing esoteric story of the world. Another practice is to embrace the unknown as a teacher. The destruction of the library was, in one sense, the annihilation of certainty. Yet for the Gnostics and Renaissance magi alike, the willingness to dwell in mystery is the catalyst for true insight. Whenever you encounter information or perspectives that unsettle you, breathe deeply and invite curiosity rather than fear. The willingness to hold paradox, to ask questions rather than demand answers, is itself an esoteric practice, opening the door to new avenues of wisdom. A more direct exercise, born of those ancient times, is the practice of sacred reading, what the mystics called lectio divina. Choose a passage from a spiritual or philosophical text, even a fragment of Hermetic or Platonic wisdom. Read it slowly, repeatedly, letting the words sink beyond intellect into heart. Contemplate not just its meaning, but its resonance, what feelings or images arise within you. Through this, you foster not only knowledge, but gnosis, direct, personal connection to the living stream of wisdom once housed at Alexandria. Obstacles will arise. The modern world prizes certainty, speed, and external validation, the very opposites of esoteric exploration. Old patterns of doubt, distraction, or impatience may try to pull you away from your self-initiated studies. Remember, those who sought to destroy the library were, above all, threatened by authentic, autonomous seekers. In persisting with your own inner inquiries, you honor the courage of every philosopher, magician, and mystic who ever haunted Alexandria's colonnades. In the end, the library's greatest secret may be that knowledge, to survive, must become living, embodied, enacted, journeyed inwardly. Its destruction challenges us to seek, question, and transform with new eyes and a bold heart. Through these small yet powerful practices, the ancient wisdom is reborn not as words on parchment, but as a light kindled within your own soul. So, as the last echoes of Alexandria's wisdom fade into the night, we must ask ourselves not what was irretrievably lost, but what lies awaiting rediscovery in the silent chambers of our own awareness. The library's burning stands as an everlasting paradox. A tragedy, yes, but also a secret invitation. It reminds us that the most profound knowledge cannot be destroyed by flame, nor erased by decree. It transforms, shape-shifts, hides only to re-emerge through the hearts and hands of those who dare to seek. We've journeyed through marble halls and charred ruins. We've sifted the ashes for the glimmer of lost wisdom. We've peered behind the veil of history to sense the uneasy power that true knowledge bestows. What emerges is no simple cautionary tale, but an age-old pattern, Where there is suppression, there springs the call to deeper inquiry. Every era has its burning libraries, its guardians of orthodoxy, its fragments of forbidden lore. The cycle continues unless we choose to step outside it. If Alexandria's downfall teaches us anything, it is this: wisdom flourishes not in locked rooms, but in the bold spirit of the seeker. The same flames that sought to erase enlightenment can, paradoxically, spark a radiant awakening if you are willing to become both student and guardian of your own inner library. Now, I turn the question to you. What have you hidden, denied, or allowed to be forgotten within yourself? What fragments of ancient knowing, what secret callings, are waiting for you to reclaim them, not from the ashes of a lost city, but from the living fire of your own quest? Let the story of the Library of Alexandria be more than a relic of the past. Let it ignite a new search, a new kindling of wisdom, one scroll, one insight, one breath at a time. If you found resonance in these words, or if you feel the stir of curiosity awakening within, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What lost or hidden wisdom are you most eager to explore? And how will you safeguard the flame in your own journey? Until next time, keep searching, keep questioning, keep the torch of true knowledge burning bright.